Everybody, this is Sophia Mona Lisa of the Golden Ray Center and the Roseville Mystery School. And today is Saturday, March 9th. Now, there is a very specific event happening today, which is going to become the focus of this video journal. And it has to do with this mastery path of relationship equality. But before I get into what that event is and what it's related to, let's look at what's happening around today, what happened yesterday, what's going to happen tomorrow. So yesterday was the Venus gate activation of the portal of manifestation. That portal of manifestation is an activation of the root chakra. It's also an activation of the 20th strand of DNA. So on Sunday, we will be getting together as the Galactic New Earth Tribe, and we will be going through that activation ceremony and all of the alchemical teachings related to what's happening at this gate as well. If you're interested in following along with the Galactic New Earth Project and our tribe that is doing these monthly activations, I invite you to come over to Patreon and join us at the tier 2 level. Those replays are only available to tier 2 members. Now, of course, today is that Mars square Uranus event, which I'm going to come back to in a second. But then tomorrow is the new moon in Pisces. So I will be doing a video journal on the new moon in Pisces. I will be doing it on Monday, the 11th, because the 10th is when we're doing the ceremonial activation piece around the Venus gate portal of manifestation. And since we invest 4 hours in that event, 2 hours that is a public replay, 2 hours that is a private replay, I will be doing that new moon in Pisces journal on the next day, Monday, the 11th. That journal will be on Patreon. So again, I invite you, come over to Patreon to see that journal at a tier 1 membership level. You can see that. And of course, tier 2 members get to see everything that the tier 1 members get to see as well. So some very good reasons for coming over and joining us on Patreon to get more information, to become have a deeper conscious engagement with what's happening for humanity at this time. Now, as I mentioned, today's event, March 9th, this Mars in Aquarius squaring Uranus in Taurus, is an event that's happening on what we call the Leo-Aquarius axis. Earlier in the month, March 3rd, Venus squared Uranus from Aquarius. Now, the reason that this is so significant is about 8.5, maybe 9 months ago, back in June and July, Mars and Venus also squared Uranus. When they squared Uranus at that time, they were over in Leo. Now we're having this full circle moment on this axis where Mars and Venus are squaring Uranus from Aquarius. This Leo-Aquarius axis is what's known as the mastery path of relationship equality. Now, in traditional shamanic astrology, they identified this mastery path as being one in which 2 masters recognize each other as masters and choose to be with each other. As masters, they empower and promote each other's uniqueness. Now, the reason why I've chosen this image here to represent this mastery path of relationship equality is because this is an image of Swami Muktananda and Bhagavan Satya Sai Baba. Bhagavan Satya Sai Baba is a full avatar, a Purna avatar. Swami Muktananda was an enlightened being. And so up here at the mighty I am presence, way up here, they know each other and recognize each other as masters on this path of relationship equality. And so from my perspective, that path of relationship equality is really the path between the relationship equality between you, yourself, your Christ heart, your higher self, and your higher mind, and your mighty I am presence. This is where we are looking to create this mastery of relationship equality so that we become co-creative in our relationship as masters. And in this way, what's happened is you've allowed the lower will of the egoic self to become aligned with the higher will of the divine self, so that the divine self is really now the charioteer of this lower self, and you, in terms of your personality self and your divine presence that's here in your heart center, can start to work co-creatively with this greater part of yourself that is able to create all things for you and through you. So this is really what I'm personally looking to with relationship to this mastery path of relationship equality. Once we get this relationship equality mastered, now we can start to experience that relationship equality with others who have also mastered this relationship between their Christ heart, their divine presence in their Christ heart, and their mighty I am presence, their divine self. So that's how I approach this, which means that these events here on March 3rd and today, March 9th, between the sacred feminine as represented by Venus and the sacred masculine as represented by Mars, are highly significant, that we're having this full circle moment where we've gone from the squares on one side of the axis, Leo, 8.5, 9 months later, now to the squares to Uranus in Aquarius. And remember what Uranus in Taurus is all about, because that's where these squares have been happening between the sacred masculine, sacred feminine, and Uranus over this 8.5 to 9 month period. Uranus is all about liberation, liberating your consciousness. And so if you want to think about liberation in terms of being able to function from the consciousness of your mighty I am presence while fully embodied, which is the Taurus energy, in your physical body, your sacred vessel, the temple of your divine self, that's huge. And of course, we know everybody has within them a sacred feminine and a sacred masculine. Before we can even come into relationship equality through this white pillar of light, we have to bring our inner masculine and our inner feminine into balance, into sacred union. Of course, last month, February, we had that big event in Aquarius on the 22nd, where Venus and Mars were conjunct, creating that sacred union. So a lot has been unfolding in terms of the expansion of humanity in being able to reclaim our divine inheritance as a Christ race. And this is all a part of it. So we're going to go a little deeper into these two squares in the charts that I have coming up. But before we do that, let me talk to you about the constellation and the star that is ruling all of these events that you see here on this slide. This star and constellation are informing all of the events in about the first half of March, from March 1st through March 12th. So all of these events that I'm speaking to, the one yesterday, the one today, the one tomorrow, and then of course the one on the 3rd, all of them being informed by the same constellation and the same star. So let's look at that. Okay. So this is the constellation. Let me make this just a little smaller so you can see it. This constellation is called the River of Night. That river is also known as Eridanus. And this is what it looks like here. It looks like a river. Okay. Now, regarding this particular constellation, the River of Night, what we need to know is that life and time flowing from an unknown source were envisioned in the ancient world as the great river welling up from beyond. So that's what this river is representing to the ancients. An unknown source that's welling up, that's life and time. And so we know that the river Eridanus flows down from the stars around Orion's, this should say feet. So let me just pause real quickly and correct that. And then it flows from Orion's feet down towards the southern pole. And this river was thought by the Greeks to come from paradise, the timeless islands of the blessed. Now, this heavenly river is also known as Oceanus, the ancients' ocean stream, which encircled the whole universe. And Oceanus was the essence of all things. He was the father not only of 3,000 rivers and of 3,000 sea nymphs, but of the sea and of all the waters which gushed forth from the earth as springs. Ambrosia, the heavenly food on which the spirits of the waters fed, is known in India as Amrita. And it's fascinating that in my book, The Lost Zodiac, where this information is taken from regarding this constellation, that they're speaking about Amrita here, because when I was in India with Satya Sai Baba, he could manifest or precipitate, whichever word you like, Amrita. And I was blessed to be able to have some of that Amrita that he manifested. Why is that important? Because it's considered the elixir of eternal life. And so it is said that if you receive Amrita, or even this sacred ash that Sai Baba would manifest called Vibhuti, that it was a indication from Baba to you that you were going to be liberated in this lifetime, that you were going to achieve what is called moksha in Sanskrit, that liberation where you can merge back into the heavenly source, the divine source of all beings. And you don't have to continue on this the wheel of Maya, which is incarnation after incarnation. Now, of course, you may be aware that once you achieve that moksha, you can choose to reincarnate out of compassion for humanity to help uplift humanity. And we call those bodhisattvas. In the Buddhist tradition, they're known as bodhisattvas. They are beings who are fully realized, fully liberated, who come back out of that deep compassion to uplift humanity. We know them here in the West as the ascended masters. So Yeshua, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Saint Germain, Paul the Venetian, many other ascended masters who could have chosen to stay in that place of bliss with Source and have chosen, because of their deep love and compassion for humanity, to continue to be eternal beings that are able to manifest in bodies here on the planet at will and continue from the higher realms where they do exist to support humanity. So I find it fascinating that this constellation has this connection with this elixir of eternal life. Now, the river is also a symbol of both the life force and the passage of time, and it is upon the banks of the great rivers of the Ganges, the Euphrates, and the Nile that civilization as we know it first began. So this constellation really taps into this ancient energy that supports all of life. Okay, let's look at the star from this constellation that is informing all of these events happening between March 1st and March 12th. And that star is known as Achernar. And so here's Eridanus, the river of the night, or the river of night, in this constellation form. And what we see is at the end of the river, there's the star, Achernar. Now, this star's frequencies have the capacity to increase our mental functioning, the mental functioning that we need to have for our ability to work in a multiple dimensional understanding. This is so fascinating to me because this is speaking to the Aquarian frequencies, the ability to have this higher mind that is able to work with our multidimensional self, to work with the quantum field. That's what the Aquarian frequencies are all about. And of course, these squares to Uranus today with Mars, and 6 days ago on the 3rd with Venus, are happening in Aquarius. So I love that this star is involved in that. Now, most of the energy given by this star is the transformation of higher energies. And when we're talking about the air signs, which are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Aquarius is the highest frequencies of those air signs. The air signs have to do with frequencies, energies, okay? And so what's happening is that these energies are being transformed first into light, then into thought, and then finally into our conscious awareness. And so this is really significant in terms of what's happening with these squares, again, to Uranus, is that the light codes coming in are being brought into our conscious awareness, because you cannot be in conscious equal partnership or have relationship equality if you are not consciously aware. So I love that about this star and this constellation that's informing these events. So let's take a look now at the very first one, which has to do with the sacred feminine squaring Uranus from those Aquarian energies. As I mentioned before, that already happened 6 days ago, March 3rd. But we find that Venus and Mars, as sacred partners, as beloveds, tend to work together through these kinds of activations. And if you go back to my quantum timeline series, it's a series of 4 video journals I did on a quantum timeline that I discovered that was evolving humanity last year. You can find it under my quantum timeline playlist here on YouTube. You will see that many of the data points through that quantum timeline series again relate to Venus and Mars working as partners, as beloveds, through these various sequential activations with these larger luminary bodies. Okay, so let's look at the chart then for Venus in Aquarius squaring Uranus. All right, this is kind of going to blow your mind. It kind of blew my mind. There's so much going on here. But first, let me show you where Venus and Uranus are, because that's the big event that we're speaking to. But there's all kinds of other stuff that I'm going to go through with you that's happening at the same time. So here's Venus, 19 degrees, 39 minutes of Aquarius. And here's Uranus, 19 degrees, 39 minutes Taurus. That's a 90-degree angle, a square. But we can see so much more is going on. So first of all, let me explain to you what I call a string of pearls. A string of pearls is a series of luminary bodies that are activating each other at a 30-degree orb, what we call a semi-sextile. Now, I personally refer to the effect of a semi-sextile as that of being a sacred helpmate, kind of like the hand in the glove. They are working very intimately together, okay? So we'll start over here. And what we see as our first pearl is the moon in Sagittarius. Our second pearl is the cosmic Christ in Capricorn. And now you'll notice that I've got Mars and Venus here. They're pretty closely conjunct. Remember, they had that exact conjunction last month, February on the 22nd. And you'll see here that there's still less than 5 degrees in proximity to each other. So that's still close enough to be a conjunction. So they are making up this third pearl. Now, this fourth pearl is pretty phenomenal, which is how I discovered these other pearls, quite frankly. Because, first I'm looking for, okay, what's going on around or close to 19 degrees. And of course, my eye is immediately drawn to Mercury at 17 degrees of Pisces, right? That's a 2-degree orb from 19. Well, then we see that the star that is influencing this event, Achernar, is also, let me put on my glasses here so I can see these little itty bitty numbers here. So it's about 1.5 degrees from Mercury. And then, oh my goodness, look at this. We've got our sun, right? The sun that is this blazing light here in our Christ heart, our radical, radiant light of the Christ heart within 2 degrees of the star, Achernar. And then, oh, wow, by the way, Saturnia is, less than 3 degrees or about 3 degrees from the sun. So because they're all so close to each other, I had to include this stellium in this pearl. And so, we're going from about 10 degrees to 17 degrees. That's a 7-degree orb, still close enough to consider a conjunction between all of these luminary bodies. And because of that, 10 to 17 degrees, that enabled me to pull in the moon as a pearl because it falls, it's at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. It falls within that 10 to 17 degrees. The next pearl, the North Node in Chiron, 16 and 17 degrees, definitely again within there. And then we see how now we've got to pull in Jupiter. Jupiter, again, 11 degrees, 45 minutes. We round that up to 12 degrees, definitely falling within 10 to 17 degrees. So for those of you that might be looking with a critical eye at why I am including these pearls, I wanted to explain to you the influence of the proximity of this stellium right here that has then allowed us to bring in these pearls. And so in this string of pearls, we have 6 pearls in this string. I rarely see a string of pearls with 6 pearls, often 4, maybe 5, rarely with 6. I have seen it before. So this is tremendous grace, tremendous support flowing in from source, the great creator, whatever you call that. I call that Sophia Christ, coming in to support what's happening with this Venus-Uranus square. Now, excuse me. Yeah, Venus-Uranus square. Okay. Now there's 3 other squares happening in the sky. This is huge because the effect of a square is a breakthrough in consciousness. And, if you were able to see my creative energies for March video journal, which is in its entirety on Patreon, I talk about the key from the keys of Enoch that talks about us as a Christ race and how that's unfolding and how it's related to these squares on the Leo-Aquarius axis to Uranus and Taurus. All of this support facilitating humanity's evolution back into being a fully conscious Christ race. Okay. So the other squares that we see here are the moon over here in Sagittarius is squaring this stellium. This is a lot of star power, especially because our sun is there. In Pisces, we are receiving broadcasts from our divine mother self to help us understand who we are in terms of the truth of who we are as divine beings, as a Christ race. So that's huge. Then we've got the cosmic Christ up here in Capricorn squaring the North Node in Chiron. And trying to remember when that conjunction was exact between them. I think it was February. It might have been January without going back and looking. I don't recall exactly. I think it was February, but you can see that they're still very closely conjunct. Okay. This is significant because we are currently in an eclipse season on the Aries Libra pathway, which is the path of conscious equal partnership. This is where we are becoming conscious partners with our divine self within our Christ heart. So I talked about these kind of steps for this expansion of mastery. First, your inner feminine and your inner masculine have to come into balance and into sacred union. Then you come into conscious equal partnership with that divine flame, what Sophia is asking me now to refer to as this golden sun, this fire, your divine flame, your divine fire as a golden sun here in your Christ heart. And then from here, you create this mastery of being in relationship equality with your higher self, your mighty I am presence. And from there, now you can start to have these mastery relationships with others who have done this same sequential work, brought their feminine and masculine into balance and into sacred union, created conscious equal partnership with their Christ heart, and then the mastery of the relationship equality between them, their I am self embodied, and the mighty I am presence, the higher self above. That higher self that some people refer to as the monad, or the logos, or the atma. These are other words that you will hear for that mighty I am presence. So the cosmic Christ is saying, in terms of our evolution, it is time for us to become a sovereign Christ race, masters of Christed beings, masters as Christed beings. This is what's happening through this series of eclipses that we're in now, that started last April and will go through, I believe it's October of 2025, this 2-year period. And so, this is why Sophia inspired me to create this Christ Heart Mentorship Program. And I encourage you to take a look at that program and to become consciously engaged with this evolutionary process that humanity is being graced with by Sophia Christ, by Source, to become fully liberated, fully empowered masters, Christed being masters. Okay. I will put a link to that Christ Heart Mentorship Program in the description box below. So that's the second square that we see. The third square. So we've got Venus squaring Uranus. We've got the moon squaring this stellium. We've got the cosmic Christ squaring the North Node in Chiron. And then the last square, which is just incredible, is this Yeshua square to Magdalene, right? Your inner Christ squaring your inner Sophia from about 0 Capricorn to 0 Aries. This is phenomenal because the inner Christ, the inner Sophia, they are beloveds. They are the representations in the as below of the cosmic Christ and the cosmic Sophia in the as above. And so the breakthrough in consciousness that's happening, that they are providing us to understand that, Aries is the self, not the little s self, not the egoic personality self, but the capital S self, our divine self that is descending from that mighty I am presence to embody this sacred temple. It is, you think of Pisces as the ocean. Aries is the wave that comes from the ocean. That is who we are. And so it's this huge breakthrough in consciousness to really know ourselves in this new way that has been kept secret and hidden from humanity by the dark forces. Saint Germain refers to them as the sinister forces. And of course, you know who I'm speaking to, and that matrix that they created through the structure of religion to keep humanity in the dark about who we are and how powerful we are as Christed beings. Remember, when Yeshua walked on this planet 2,000 years ago, he said, "These things that I do, you too will do, and even greater," because he was a Christed being and he knew that we also are Christed beings. We had just forgotten that we were Christed beings, and he came here to help reestablish that knowledge that we are embodiments of love, and that love is the manifestation of the sacred union of Sophia and Christ. Okay, so those are the 3 squares. So you can see that this was a huge event on March 3rd, and you might have felt yourself like laying on the couch, kind of swooning, like, whoo, something's happening to me, and I don't quite know what it is. But that's because that inner space was being so incredibly stretched so that we could embody all of the frequencies of this string of pearl and have all of the breakthroughs of consciousness that these 4 squares in the sky were facilitating for us to help, along with this star Akinar, to bring this into our conscious awareness. Okay, let me take you back to that slide on Akinar, right? It is helping us to transform these higher energies first into light, then into thought, and then into conscious awareness. All of this work that is really stretching our mental functioning, our mental capacity to deal with these Aquarian frequencies of our multidimensional space, our multidimensional selves, the quantum field, all of that which is non-linear. Okay, it's a totally different way of being, and it's a totally different way of relating to how we move about and create on this planet that has been so bound by linear time. And now we are becoming non-linear beings, learning how to function in a space that is really such a strong container because of the linear time that everybody is accustomed to, but we're outside of that. It reminds me of something that someone said to me once, and it was, about a person and, let's say, a goldfish in a fishbowl, and the person is looking at the goldfish and wondering, how does that goldfish breathe in water? And the goldfish is looking out at the person and saying, how does that person breathe in air? It's two different kinds of realms that are somehow like overlapping, or not really merging, but showing up in the same space. Okay, so that was a huge activation between the sacred feminine and Uranus on March 3rd. All right, so let's go forward and let's take a look now at what's happening today with the sacred masculine, coming 6 days behind the sacred feminine to make this square. So what we see is another string of pearls, and there are some significant differences here. First of all, we only have 5 pearls in this string. We don't have 6. And what we see is that the moon, which was down here in Sagittarius 6 days prior, has now come up here to this pearl and is within Pisces. And Mercury, that was in this pearl, has now moved on, and I'll get to that in just a minute. So what we do have is we've got the cosmic Christ again in Capricorn. Now he's the first pearl. We've got Mars here in this second pearl. Notice how Venus is pulled far enough away. And I just see something here that I want to correct. So let me pause real quickly. Okay, so I was just talking about how Venus has moved far enough away from Mars so that this pearl only has Mars in it. I talked about this pearl already. We again have the North Node and Chiron in this pearl, and again we have Uranus in that pearl. Okay, so the big shifts here in the string of pearls is that the moon moved from Sagittarius up here to Pisces to join this stellium. Venus moved outside of the pearl with Mars, and Mercury moved outside of the pearl with this stellium. Okay. Now, there's a lot going on with this string of pearls. First of all, what we see with Osiris is he is again still squaring the North Node in Chiron, but he's also trining Uranus. And, let me look back. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, you know what? I would say, he's moved 2 degrees. So he's closer, from 17 degrees to 19 degrees. So yeah, you could even say because of this Jupiter Uranus, 12 to 19, 20 degrees, Osiris is 15, he would be trining here as well. Now, why is that significant? Because trines are a path of most allowance. And so what this is telling us is that the cosmic Christ is creating a pathway that is ensuring our ability to have this breakthrough in consciousness. The analogy that I want to use is, and I'll use a mountain because he's in Capricorn, and a mountain represents the Capricorn energies, right? Which mountain are you choosing to climb? Well, when you're going up a mountain, if the path hasn't been cleared for you, then you're probably struggling to clear a path. There might be big boulders in the way that you have to get around. There might be trees that have fallen that you need to somehow get over. There might be, rivers that you need to cross. There's a lot of obstacles in the way. But what the cosmic Christ has done for us is he's cleared the path. He's removed all of those obstacles. Dare I say that Ganesha, right, has gone ahead to clear the path. And of course, Ganesha, as the son of Shiva and Parvati, that's what he does. He goes ahead and clears the path. And he's cleared the path so that the cosmic Christ can bring you through it without any obstacles and have these breakthroughs in consciousness on this mastery path of relationship equality between who you are as an embodiment of your divine self and being in equal partnership with that mighty I am presence, your source, your higher self, your Atma. Okay, this is huge. And I would say it's significant enough in terms of the Venus square Uranus that I would say that trine, absolutely, that path of most allowance with the cosmic Christ was present there. And I will go back and I will fix that slide. Okay, now the next thing we've got, of course, is the Mars squaring Uranus. That's the big event for today. You see it's exact 19 degrees 52 minutes, 19 degrees 52 minutes. It's an exact square. Then we have the stellium here. And what's happening with this stellium is it's standing across the sky from Lilith. Lilith is a sovereignty goddess. But more important than the fact that she's a sovereignty goddess, which is huge in amongst itself, is that this opposition is happening on the Virgo Pisces axis. That's the Sophia Christ axis. It's also happening from first house to seventh house. And you'll notice pretty closely conjunct the ascendant and the descendant. This descendant at 12 degrees, 38 minutes is falling between Saturnia, another sovereignty goddess, and the Divine Mother at almost 14 degrees. And so this is really, if you think about an opposition, what's happening is that the luminary bodies on either side are blending their frequencies together to create something brand new up here at a higher vibrational set point. And so what's being created up here as a result of first Venus squaring Uranus, and now today Mars squaring Uranus, is this new level of spiritual sovereignty in terms of our inner Sophia Christ and the Sophia Christ above us, the mighty I Am presence. This is a sovereignty relationship that's being created. And of course, when you're in sovereignty, you have mastered yourself, right? Your lower self and your higher self. Now the masters are in relationship equality. It's all right here with this opposition. It's freaking phenomenal. Okay. So that's what's going on with the string of pearls. Remember, the pearls are all of this grace coming through from Sophia Christ, from Source, whatever you call your great creator, Allah, Buddha, Yeshua, whoever that is. This is the grace of Source, of the divine coming through to facilitate your capacity to have this huge evolutionary leap in terms of shifting from being just a human person to a divine person, okay? Knowing yourself as a Christed being. All right. Now we've got another big thing going on here, which is in green. Now we've got the cosmic Sophia standing right next to the galactic center. So she's helping to bring forth all of these light codes that have never been here in our galaxy before, to help with this evolutionary expansion into the truth of who we were created to be. We were created to be a Christ race. We are Christed beings, okay? Now, what you'll notice here is, first of all, they are making a sextile to this Venus, this sacred feminine in Aquarius. So really your inner feminine that is really able to see this big picture, this radical vision for humanity that is liberating humanity's consciousness through the codes that are coming in through here. And parenthetically, she then is making a semi-sextile. Remember the hand in the glove, the sacred partnership with Mercury and Neptune. Now, Neptune is, where did I have the picture? I'm trying to remember which slide it was on. Let me go back. Here, okay. Neptune represents the golden ray that comes from the mighty I Am presence down through your higher mind, down through the stellar gateway, the soul star chakra, the causal chakra, the crown chakra, this golden ray coming down, anchoring your divinity in your Christ heart. That golden ray, golden ray represents Neptune in Pisces. Okay, Pisces being this mighty I am presence. All right. So Mercury is standing next to Neptune, this golden ray. So very likely, especially with Venus in Aquarius, Aquarius representing this higher mind, you're getting a message from your higher mind, from your mighty I am presence about this evolutionary expansion that Sophia herself, as divine wisdom, is birthing within you. Okay. And then what we see is that Neptune and Mercury are making a sextile to Epona in Taurus. I will talk to you about Epona in Taurus in a minute. Remember that the sextiles that you see between Mercury and Neptune and Epona and Isis, the cosmic Sophia, and the galactic center in Venus, those sextiles, that 60-degree aspect has the effect of your best friend, right? Your BFF that's got your back. I've been telling you, there is so much divine support, so much cosmic support, however you relate to that, for this evolutionary leap forward in humanity at this time. And keep in mind that this is all happening this month before the eclipse that's happening at the end of the month. Okay. Remember, eclipses are events that get us back on track with our evolutionary pathway. And so I will be doing a video journal on that eclipse at the end of the month, and it'll be on Patreon. So please come over to Patreon to be able to see that. But what's happening with this Venus square Uranus and Mars square Uranus, this is all preparatory. This is laying the groundwork, right? Laying the pipelines, so to speak, for what's going to be happening at that big eclipse at the end of the month. All right. And then the last thing I want to show you here is, once again, Yeshua and Magdalene are still in a square to each other. They've moved from 0 degrees of Capricorn in Aries to 2 degrees of Capricorn and about 3 degrees of Aries. So they're still creating that square, that breakthrough in consciousness. And it's important that this is happening with the inner Christ, the inner Sophia, because all this could be happening up here with the cosmic Christ and the cosmic Sophia. But what this is showing you is that all of this is coming down and it's happening within you. It's not happening just around you. This is something that is happening at the cellular DNA level within you and within your Christ heart and within your higher mind. Okay? This is huge. Now, let me talk to you about Epona over here in Taurus. Epona is the Celtic horse goddess. And I did a video last year where Epona gave me horse medicine for each one of the first 6 astrological signs. So that's starting over here in Aries is the first astrological sign, then Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. That's the 6 astrological signs. So she gave me horse medicine for each one of these signs. So I'm going to show you what the horse medicine for Taurus is so that you can understand how that horse medicine is working, like the BFF, right? Because it's making this sextile to this Neptune Mercury conjunction. Remember, the message that's coming through from that golden ray that is descending from the mighty I am presence, the Atma, Sophia Christ, down into your Christ heart. Okay. So here it is. This horse medicine is known as out of body wisdom. And in the card, what we see are 3 gray horses heading for the hills, right? Here's the hill. And they leap into the clouds. And so the question is, when they're leaping into the clouds, and you can see the horse faces here in the clouds, are they gaining a higher perspective or are they disconnecting from reality? And so this medicine of Epona in Taurus is how you can stay embodied so that you do not disconnect, dissociate. When you are triggered by fear or any other low vibration, one of the things that happens to people is they do dissociate, and it shifts them in from being in a a thriving mode into a survival mode. This is like really rudimentary disempowerment. Okay. The medicine here is how we can stay embodied without disconnecting, without dissociating, which is very disempowering, and be able to transcend our awareness and access innovative states of mind from the higher mind. Okay, that's empowerment, where you can see the big picture and you know what's going on. And so this wisdom is about really practicing transcending into these higher states of mind where you get all of these innovative awarenesses about what's going on. Okay. And as you become, as you develop that relationship of equality between you and the embodiment of your Christ heart and your mighty I am presence, right? Remember, right between them is that higher mind. You come up into the higher mind and you are able to receive the wisdom of that transcendent state of being that is sharing messages with you from your source, from Sophia Christ, from the mighty I am presence with you to guide you so that things become almost even effortless, because all of the orchestration is taking place up here and you're receiving the messages of where to go, what to do, and you're not having to push against the river anymore. Okay, so that's a huge piece of horse wisdom from Epona that's coming in to help you be able to access those innovative states of mind. So that's what's going on with today's Mars squaring Uranus event and what happened 6 days ago with Venus squaring Uranus. Let me give you a quick peek of what's coming up towards the end of the month. Again, let me point out that this is happening before the big eclipse at the end of the month. Okay. there's a period here of about 4 or 5 days, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 20th, period of 5 days where these events are going to be happening. Again, preparing us for that big lunar eclipse at the end of the month. So on March 17th, the Sun and Neptune are coming together in Pisces. Remember what I said about the Sun? It represents this golden sun right here, this radical radiant light, this radical radiant light of love that is in your Christ heart. And Neptune in Pisces represents this golden ray coming from your mighty I am presence down through these chakras into the heart. And so what's happening here is that this is an expansion, right? The sun fuels everything that it comes into contact with. So what's happening is that more and more of this light of the golden ray is coming into your Christ heart, and it's expanding the light of your divine presence in your heart space. That's what's happening there. Now, the I am statement that you can use to engage with this event is, I am the commanding presence, and I maintain my consciousness here. I am the commanding presence, right? This is the presence, the mighty I am presence, sending down the gold flame. I am that, and I am maintaining my consciousness here, okay? So I really encourage you on the day to just spend your day as you're washing dishes, cooking your meals, vacuuming the house, whatever you're doing, walking your pets, repeating in your mind in a slow, thoughtful, conscious way, I am the commanding presence, and I maintain my consciousness here. Now, 2 days later, March 19th is the spring equinox. That happens when the sun crosses the 29-degree threshold of Pisces to 0 degrees of Aries. Okay, this is all about rebirth, renewal. All right, and in order to engage this event in a conscious way, you can use this I am statement. I am the presence, right? This is the mighty I am presence. I am the presence, preparing the way and bringing visible contact with the beloved ascended masters. So the idea is that with this spring equinox, this rebirth, this renewal, we're doing all of this work around mastery of relationship equality between us and our divinity and our Christ heart and our divinity as the mighty I am presence. Now we can start to have mastery in a equal relationship with the ascended masters. So renewing and rebirthing a mastery relationship with the ascended masters and really inviting them in to physically manifest, visibly manifest within your life and start to work with you as a student of the light, as a child of the light. Okay. On March 21st, there's actually going to be two big events. The first one is the Sun in Aries sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. Now, remember, the sextile is that BFF that's got your back, okay? So this is a very supportive event. This is huge because in January, we had the big event where Sun and Pluto were conjunct at the mastery point of Capricorn, 29 degrees, 59 minutes, and they crossed that threshold from Capricorn to 0 degrees of Aquarius together, and were conjunct at the 0 degrees of Aquarius. So the fact that the Sun and Pluto are coming into aspect again is very significant, because Pluto is highly potent, it's highly transformative, and the Sun, fueling everything that's happening. And so Pluto is that multidimensional, it's in Aquarius, the multidimensional self, where all of this transformation that we've been talking about with the Venus square Uranus and the Mars square Uranus is happening, right? All that in Aquarius through the multidimensional field. And now the Sun in Aries. Remember what I said about Aries. The mighty I am presence is like Pisces, the ocean, and we are the wave from the ocean, Aries, okay? And so a really good I am statement to help you engage this empowerment, this transformation that we're going through is I am the law of forgiveness and the consuming flame of all inharmonious action and human consciousness. This consuming flame is referring to this mighty violet consuming flame that surrounds you within your pillar of light. This inharmonious action is the shadow side of Aries. Human consciousness is the collective consciousness of Aquarius. So this is a perfect I am statement to be saying to yourself throughout the day on March 21st, related to this Sun sextile of Pluto. I am the law of forgiveness and the consuming flame of all inharmonious action and human consciousness. This I am statement will dissolve a lot of karma, okay? The next event happening on March 21st is this Venus-Saturnia conjunction. And this statement is not going to make sense to you unless you see the presentation that I'm doing on the Venus gate activation, which will be tomorrow. But this is huge. You've heard of the three graces: faith, hope, and charity. And Saint Germain tells us that not only are they human qualities, but these are great cosmic beings. There are great cosmic beings known by these names: faith, hope, and charity. And he talks about those great cosmic beings in the 14th discourse of the I Am discourses. And so I'll be going into this much more tomorrow with our Venus gate activation. If you have a copy of the I Am discourses, I encourage you to go to Discourse 14th and read about these great cosmic beings and why this is significant at this time. And so Saturnia in Pisces is all about spiritual mastery, spiritual discipline, right? They're two sides of the same coin. And Venus as the sacred feminine in Pisces is related to faith, hope, and charity, these great cosmic beings. So the I am statement for this is I am the master presence of faith, hope, and charity. So I really do hope that you will work with these statements. I really do invite you to come over to Patreon, where I will be doing video journals on each of these events and going into more depth around each of these events and how they are activating and evolving us. So that's what I have for you tonight. And I just want to remind you of this little prayer that I am sending out from my heart to your heart. May the peace of the cosmic Christ enfold you and carry you forth on wings of light until you have reached eternal perfection. So thank you for staying with me through this journal. If you have any questions about anything that I've shared, you can contact me about at this email address, sophiamonalisa79@gmail.com. Remember, Sophia is spelled with an F. Any questions about the Christ Heart Mentorship Program, you can email me. Any questions about the Patreon community, you can email me. And so I just want to say thank you again for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up so that it'll get out to more people. Please share it with your social network, with people that you think that would be very interested in this work. And also, if you would subscribe to the channel, that helps as well. So thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for subscribing. And thanks for sticking with me through the end. And I will see you in my next journal. Bye-bye.